Hey, this is Keith. Welcome to How to Build Your Own Home. I want to do an actual framing walkthrough for you today. And I'm going to show you things that I noticed, things that I'm picking up. You're going to learn from me. This is how I am. I'm a working builder. So we're going to actually walk through a framing job that was just completed. This here is the Cedar West job. Beautiful home, detached garage, main home with a 3-car garage attached to the main home. So let's walk through the home, check it out, and I'll show you some things that we do, how we do them, and hopefully you'll pick up some great pointers. First of all, is I have my plans always in a tube like this, and the great sign of a great framer is how good those plans are when they're done. Check that out. These plans are in almost really good shape. I've seen plans just totally frayed, messed up at the end of a job. So, and we had some nasty wind out here and really bad weather. So the plans are in good shape, ready to go for the next crew, which will be the mechanical crew. We'll do another post on that. So I'm really happy that my plans are in good shape, and I'll leave them here ready to go for the mechanical, my heating, air, electrical, everything. First of all, we're in the open vaulted ceiling here of the house. And if you notice, these are called scissor trusses, but we did do some dormers. I love shed dormers. I've mentioned that before. It's more of a farmhouse look, but shed dormers bring in the most light, better than a gable dormer. So I've got some shed dormers up there. And if you notice, I've got some timber for bracing, extra bracing here between my trusses. Mainly for a couple reasons. I'm going to put some actual faux beams on here, and I did this on another post. So we've got all that rocking and rolling, ready to go. So when drywall comes, they don't have to drywall over that, they drywall up to it, and then we can put our beams right up to that. My carpenter came in here with a laser. He shot a laser. The laser was perfectly in the middle of the room. So I got my supports for the middle of the room beam, and I'm going to have faux beams at the end of the open living area. Plus, we'll do a larger beam up at the top there. So you're going to see that on another post. But I've got all the support, everything done, ready to rock and roll. So let's walk down this hallway, and I'll show you a couple things here. Okay, now I'm in 2 bedrooms that are kind of adjoining, and I've got 2 bathrooms that are basically connected to each other. I've got a walk-in shower here, and I've got a walk-in shower here. If you've noticed, I've got some 2x6 backing at the bottom of that shower. That 2x6 backing is helpful for holding the bladder system that's going to be installed for that shower. Now, this is a slab on grade, so if you notice, I've got about 3 inches of transition. I like to do about 2 inches. But when I step into that shower, I've got about 3 inches. I prefer 2. I like more concrete underneath the shower, but that's going to get filled in when they do the pan system anyway. We'll do another post on that. I've done a lot of posts on that. But here I've got it backing here, because you're going to need that bladder is going to come up to the side of that backing over here, and they're going to actually nail it to it, and they're going to fill it up with water and make sure it holds water. But that's why you want to have some extra support there at the bottom of all of your showers. And you notice I've got 2 showers here side by side. Now, the good thing that you notice is when you start framing, you see how well your concrete crew did, you see how well your plumbing crew did, and I've got my drain dead center in both of those, and the concrete is also squared up nice, and I have no overages, no anything. My framing just hit perfectly because my concrete crew was also dead on. So I'm really happy about that. Let's walk around over here, and as I'm walking through the house, I just check to make sure I've got my J-bolts all tied down. And every once in a while, if I'm missing a J-bolt, and sometimes you'll find that to be the case, especially they'll put J-bolts in the doorway, and I don't need them in the doorway. And if they're there, we end up cutting those out, but I didn't have any here. But there was one area where we actually were missing a J-bolt. So we actually have a hurricane tie. It's a big, huge screw with big, huge wind-up screws. We drill down on that. A lot of times you epoxy that, and we put that down so the inspector checks to make sure. I've seen inspectors come by, and they actually kick the outside of the framing structure to see how well that is sealed to the actual framing structure. And they'll see if there's any gaps. I don't have any gaps in here, and if I do, a lot of that can get taken up with some closed cell spray foam. But all my framing is really solid throughout the entire home. Okay, let's walk into the other room here. Another thing I just take a look at, I'm happy to see, is my plumber actually hit this plumbing dead center on this wall, which is really hard with the 2x4 wall. There's more forgiveness with a 2x6 wall, But this here is going to be a spigot going outside here, and always with spigots, so I can't put them, I have to have a T structure, and this is something good to know. Because that valve is going to turn that water on and off from the outside, the valve is actually way far into the structure, which is inside the conditioned space of the home where you're heating it. So they hit that just dead center with that stud wall, and I'm really happy about that. I've got 2 more in the building that are just like that, and it came out just right. I've got another one over here. If you come over here in this bathroom, there's another one over here as well, and we'll have a spigot outside. And again, we hit that dead center in that wall, so I'm really happy about that. Again, all the framing structure is nice. I don't see any gaps. Underneath my main plate, which is my treated plate way down here, I've got some foam. I don't like the liquid nails. Liquid nails is not something I recommend for that. I like that's called Seal. It's a foam underlayment, and that just has a nice cushion to it. And when you lock that down with those J-bolts and you're tightening everything down, it's got a nice seal on top of that. So, and it's non-degradable, and it just lasts for a very, very long time. So that's something to think about. Let's walk around down here. As I'm walking through the house, I just double check king studs, trimmer, all that kind of stuff. I've got my king studs. I got a lot of support. I have a little more beef up than I needed to right over here on this door. But the thing I was worried about is we have a shear wall over here, and also have a massive window over here. So you really want to make sure that you get that right. And if you have any shear walls, that's going to be indicated on your plans differently. Every engineer marks up their plans just a little bit differently. And typically it's a little squiggly line that will show on the plans that there is a shear wall. And that means that wall, for example, a lot of times if I had a second story, more than likely this wall would have been a shear wall, which means they would have put OSB on it or some sort of a rigid panel on it to secure that as a shear wall. And that's to keep the house from going like this. Just check out some homes online. On the YouTube, you'll see collapsed frameworks because they didn't have a proper shear support in the home. But I did have a shear wall over there. And you'll see there's a shear wall between the main living, which is the laundry, and the kitchen. That whole wall over there has got a shear wall on it. And again, that's indicated by the extra OSB between this main living and the garage. So let's walk upstairs. There's something I really want to show you. Before we get upstairs, I wanted to show you, we've got our mechanical room right here. And this here is an underground forced air ventilation system. So I'm really happy it came out just right. Again, this is another indicator that your mechanical crew was dead on. I've got my air vent system, and I'm going to have a return air right here. And he had it right on the wall. I have just enough to get some drywall in between the plenum here, or the return air intake, and the wall. So he was really dead on. I mean, that's not easy to do. Imagine trying to put this in dirt, okay, and all you've got is a string or even a board on the outside of your foundation to indicate where the slab's going to be. And you have to measure and get this here placed all into the dirt even before concrete is poured. So that's indicative that you've got some really good skill on site. And thank you, Paul, for that. You know, you are from Patriot Air. Did a really, really good job of this. And here's the neat thing. We spent all that extra time putting that underground forced air system, and you can see the floor vents throughout the entire home. And again, they were dead center, right real close to the wall, giving room for the basin case, giving room for drywall. So right there, we'll have some flush venting system on that floor. It's going to be really, really great. But I'm really happy to see that came out nice and square with the framing. Really good job. Now, this here house has a large bonus space upstairs. So we're going to go up there and take a look at that. And I did a stair system here. Now, I could have done this fully enclosed all the way here. I even could have put a door down here if I wanted to, or even a door up there. But we chose to go this route, giving it an open feel. And this is not part of the conditioned space. We've got a door upstairs I'll show you, so that can be sealed off. They just wanted to put a railing here later on down the road and then have that conditioned space upstairs. So let's go upstairs and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, this is not conditioned. This is conditioned. And I want to explain the difference. Now, I can condition this if I wanted to put a door down there. But we're trying to keep some costs in framing down. So this will be a door and walk in here. This here is now a bonus area upstairs. And this is kind of a trend I do. I've talked a lot about bonus rooms and using attic trusses in a home. And this is the real benefit. The attic trusses on the detached garage, I've got a large bonus room over there. I did the numbers on that. And the difference between a regular common truss, which is what you see behind the cameraman right now, those are all common trusses, and it's got a web structure this way and that way. And that's a common truss. The difference between that truss and an attic truss like this is about 30% more, all right? Which means the square footage, especially I did the numbers on the detached garage, the square footage cost on the detached garage for all that massive, huge bonus room above that garage is between $8 and $11 a square foot. It comes out differently because we have a larger dead space on that building than we do on this building. So that's the benefit of using attic trusses. They have all this room to grow, to utilize down the road. If they have kids and grandkids and whatever, they can actually send them over here. Hey, go above the garage and play. Or even have an additional place to grow. You could literally put a kitchenette over there and a bathroom over there, future down the road, and you have a bedroom over there. So you have all this opportunity at the most affordable square footage you can get. Now, you don't have to finish it off, to be honest with you. You don't even have to put the subfloor in there. All right, all you need to do is just put some insulation on there, put your drywall underneath for the garage, and even save this for later on. That's the benefit of bonus rooms using attic trusses. And you notice here, the thing I like about attic trusses, I've got all this dead space in here, which is great for running. If you did forced air, you can run all your forced air system right inside the home right here. You can insulate the outside wall. You can insulate this wall. There's all kinds of things you can do with that. And I've got plenty of space for all the insulation I need. This is something we added also in framing. I'm talking to my daughter over here at the same time. So this is going to give us an additional a good R30 of insulation between here and the ceiling structure up there. So this here is something I walk through to double check on stuff. I like to look at the transitions on the floor. I'm really level here because I've got a triple girder truss here. I've got a single attic truss there. And typically when you've got that transition between the two, sometimes you can see a transition here, and I don't feel that right here. I'm nice and level. So again, my framers, Cody, did a phenomenal job, did a great job of the framing on the home. Now, typically when you do an attic truss, I like to go between 4 and 5 feet, and this is called the heel wall. The height on this wall can be altered on just about any attic truss that you design. You can take this down to 3 feet, but I want to keep something in mind for you. The minute you go right to about 6 feet 9 or 6 feet, I'm 6 feet tall, this is typically where the usable space begins. As you get closer to the truss, I have to duck down here. And a lot of appraisers, if they're smart and they really know what they're doing, a lot of them will not count that extra square footage, right? It's between here and here where there's no head clearance, okay? They will only count the square footage from your head 6'9" and beyond. But some of them don't care, they just add up the square footage. But if you really want usable square footage, and if you are using an attic truss, make sure that heel height, they call this a pony wall, they call it the heel wall, that interior heel wall needs to be at least 5 feet. All right, you can go down to 4 or 3, whatever you want, but every time you do shorter, it encroaches on your headroom that you've got. And I've seen them as high as 6 feet. Here's something else to keep in mind. The higher you go, you're also going to create more wall space on the outside of that truss. And the more wall space you create means more exterior stucco, brick, batten board, whatever it is. And the more you can cut that down, then you can actually save on your exterior. And here's one last piece of advice, and I should do a whole video on this because I could talk forever on it. It's cheaper to do a roof, all right, than it is an exterior wall, okay? Think about that. Asphalt, stucco. Think about that. If you're gonna put an asphalt shingle roof on your house, you can have this come down and actually cut it down to such a degree, you actually eliminate the actual square footage on the outside of the home. But here we went a little higher on here because we want more headroom in here. And as a result, we're going to have more exterior stucco to deal with on the outside. But if you really wanted to cut down and try to save your money, just keep in mind, a roof is cheaper to do than an exterior wall. So if you can create more roof structure, that's a real a powerful thing to do. So a lot of really neat things with attic trusses. They're just phenomenal. The square footage you can get out of them, it's just the most affordable square footage. And it's even better than a basement. Because a basement, I could talk forever on that. And sometimes you have to do it. You got a walkout basement, you got to do that. But I grab square footage this way, and I've actually been able to solve problems for the future of my clients way down the road. So this is just a really cool walkthrough on framing. I could talk a lot more on it. I just really wanted to give you some tips, things I look for, things I watch out for, and things I do to create value for my clients. Again, this is a framing walkthrough. We're going to come through and walk through on mechanical. I'll do a little more in-depth on the actual forced air system, how we're coming up through the floor, how we're accommodating for stuff like that, and other tips down the road. So again, this is a Cedar West job, giving you a framing walkthrough, just things I look for and things I do with how to build your own home.